Okay, I woke up super early this morning, all excited to finish this out, right? No, but I am going to finish this out. And I was looking to see if it qualifies for Scottsbluff, right? Because people want to see, inquiring minds want to know. So I think it qualifies mainly because of this side, side A. It's got good patterning on it. Scottsbluff often has regular patterning, but it doesn't have to, right? Some of them are made really well, and some of them are, a little bit haphazard. Some have little teeny shoulders, and some have bigger shoulders. I'm gonna make little teeny shoulders. I think, like this one here. I think I can do that one, or I don't know. Yeah, maybe one of these with bigger shoulders because the sides of this aren't very straight. I don't want to remove too much of the sides. Yeah. So basically I'm just going to be doing is the base. And I'll make it like this short and try to make it look nice and neat. And then I'll sharpen the edges. Yeah. All right, so it's not going to be, I didn't think it was going to be a perfect Scottsbluff, but I think it'll pass. Yeah, right? As long as it passes these days, it's good, right? Yes, it seems like that's the way. As long as it passes, which is good for me. Where is my pad? I cannot. Oh wait, I can get one of the new pads I got. What did I do with the sneaky little pad? Huh. I gotta make a new one. Yeah, I gotta set up a shop to make stuff like this. It's just really, really dusty the way I make these. So I've got to figure out a way to set up something that I can use outside. Yeah, some kind of shop that I can blow away all the dust with a fan, so I don't need a vacuum to vacuum all the dust. What I usually do is just set up a table outside, but the weather here is not predictable. Even though it is a very well-established science these days, and they do a really good job predicting weather these days. Still, I cannot rely entirely on that. So I'm thinking of setting up a canopy. Yeah, just go buy a canopy and set it up in front of my shop door. One of those fancy canopies that fold up. I think that's what I'm gonna do. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my Scottsbluff tool. You didn't know? This is my Scottsbluff tool that I've been using. Try to get those large parallel flakes. Yeah, easier said than done. That's typical with Flintknapping. Easier said than done. All right, what am I doing here? I gotta be extremely careful. These Scottsbluff stems are very neatly done, very precise. There's no fooling around with these. That's kind of why I don't make them very often. You can't fool around with this stuff. It's a serious business, these Scottsbluffs and Edens. Yeah. And anything with regular patterning. Even the Folsom has regular pattern flaking around the edges. These guys are serious. Yeah, and I've got to have lots of really good symmetry on the stem. What a good stem symmetry. Why were they so persnickety? I think it has to do with what they used it for. You know, these Scottsbluffs look like they were tips for serious darts that were thrown at really high speeds. Yeah. I bet you they were thrown at really high speeds and probably at a distance as well. Why do I say that? Because they pay so much attention to the symmetry. That's why. The symmetry is strength. The whole point screams strength. Yeah, it's a strong design. There's no wonkiness in it. There's no weak spots. No significant weak spots in any of the Cody points that I can see. They take extra care to get rid of all the weak attributes in a stone point. Yeah. The tips are not extra pointy. They're rounded off. That's strong point. They have a diamond cross section. That's very strong. They have a stem that's very symmetrical and it's thickest right where it would usually snap. That's very strong. Everything about the whole deal is, let's make the strongest point we can. Yeah. Now, I think that was the priority over the sharpness. But I've been told that the Cody points are sharp up here near the tip mostly and not on the sides. So I've never held an actual real stone Cody point. So I couldn't go, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, you're right. I had to go by the casts. And the casts feel that way too. They do feel a little bit sharper up near the tip than they do on the sides. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to try to get rid of this, a little bit more of that lump there. Okay, I'm going to try. If I don't see a clear way to do it, I'll just leave it. I just ground that down a little bit. I'm just going to leave it, yeah. It's not worth trying to take that off and then end up with a step fracture in that area because it's concave. I need it to be convex. See that? The cortex there is concave. If I shoot any flakes into that area, I'm risking the step fracture somewhere halfway. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it. Yep. And it's a little bit lumpy, but it has kind of that strong cross section to it, so it's okay. It's okay according to me. Right? Right. It's at the napper's discretion. Yeah, and I have lots of discretions. Yep. What's a discretion? Haha. This is what I have a lot of. All right, and so I've got the base straightened. Sometimes they're slightly convex, sometimes they're slightly concave, and sometimes they're straight. You don't believe me? See, this one is slightly concave. This one's slightly concave, although that might be damage. But these are slightly convex. And this one looks pretty straight. some of these are straight. So they're kind of variable, which is to be expected because they were made by various knappers. Yeah. Some knappers are more persnickety than others. Yeah. Just like nowadays. It's funny how that works. Now, the width of these varies also. See how that varies? So that tells me I've got a formula, right? If it's 3/4 of an inch or larger width, I'm thinking that's a knife. If it's 3/4 or less of an inch wide, it's a projectile point. So to me, this would be a knife, right? Because it's more than 3/4. Let me see. Yeah, that's about it. It's almost an inch wide. 7/8. And what this is going to be is also like an inch wide. So this will be like a Cody Scottsbluff knife blade, in my opinion. It's just an opinion. I don't know how these things were used. Okay, I'm not an expert in Cody's. I've got a couple books that I've been looking for. I do have Cody Lifeways book, but I don't know where it went. There's plenty of references online, right? But I don't like depending on those because some of them are outdated. Yeah. Besides, internet stuff, it takes forever to find something reliable. Everybody and their brother is writing stuff about paleo or early archaic points. You don't know who to believe, if anybody. My default position is don't believe anybody. Just look and see if they give you a lot of data, and if they do, you're not done yet. You got to see if the data has been selectively interpreted, or what. Sometimes in the data you see some stuff, but they don't notice it, or they don't go over it. They don't mention it or make a big deal out of some of the stuff in the data that you think maybe they should be paying more attention to. You know, they'll mention that they're hunting these bison, these large bison antigua or something, but they don't mention that they're also hunting other things. It's not just the large bison that they're hunting. They just mention it in a little segment that there's other fauna in the remains on the site. There's other faunal remains on the site, but they're primarily, they think we're hunting these big giant bison. Well, just show the data. How much of a percentage for these other fauna are there exactly? Is it like 50-1 of other fauna compared to giant bison? Or is it like 1-1? How much is it? And how many fragments? Did you look at the fragments, or are you just looking at large bones? Are you looking to see if there's any are you looking to see if there's anything conflicting in the studies of the animals from that era? Like, there's too many bones of something compared to what was predicted by somebody else, you know, some other expert in, like, let's say, extinct megafauna, does it jive with what they've found? Like, you might be saying that they're hunting primarily giant bison, but the expert in these megafauna says there wasn't very many giant bison in that area. Does it jive with it? Did they mention that? Because it's a little bit conflicting. If there's not many giant fauna in that area, and you're saying that's what they primarily hunted, it kind of doesn't make sense. Because it's so much easier to get something else, like elk, for instance, if elk were more common. And maybe they used up all the elk bones and all the elk antler, so there isn't many remains. And whenever they got a giant bison, maybe they already had all their bone tools that they needed. Who knows? And they didn't really use the bison horns, although some people say, yeah, they were using them bison horns for Flintknapping. Who knows? I suppose yes, but you can make other things out of bison horn that are, I think, more useful than a flaker that you can make from an antler, a shed antler especially. You can make a drinking cup out of a bison horn, and everyone needs a drinking cup. Oh yeah, you want your own drinking cup, so don't give anybody any cooties. Did they know about cooties back in the day? I don't know. They probably had superstitions about it because it worked, you know. It's bad luck to use someone else's drinking cup. Who knows? If you believed that back in the day, that it was bad luck to use someone else's drinking cup, you would have lived longer. You wouldn't pick up their cooties, so to speak. Where do we get the name cooties from? Yeah. And why do we think it's gross? Just instinctively. There's something there that we learned back in the day. Yeah. Even before the knowledge of viruses and microbes is very new. But we had this thing, we have this intuitive thing that is gross to share, you know, utensils or cups or whatever. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I think it's gross. Yeah, I have been a germaphobe in the past. And I remember when people were saying, don't use the sanitizer too much because you're going to create super microbes that are going to be immune to the sanitizer. So I said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, really, it does make sense. So I tried to use sanitizer sparingly back in the days where they were saying, don't use too much sanitizer because it'll create super microbes. And everyone went, yeah, makes sense. Because it does, it makes sense. But then something happened and everyone went crazy bonker beans, and now you can't use enough sanitizer. Well, keep using it. Use a lot of it every day, many times per day. Wait till the super microbes start appearing. Just wait. And they'll go, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Why did I say that? Now I got super microbes all over me. Yeah, soon enough, everyone's going to have super microbes all over them. That'll be the new thing. Yeah. Oh well. What can you do? Can't do too much. People will do almost anything when they're scared. Yeah. What do I do? I'm scared. Just tell me anything. Just something that I can do. Because I need to do something. I know, I got an idea for what you to do. Don't be scared. Yeah. So what? Think about it. Use your noggin. Don't just jump to the panic mode. Don't jump into panic mode. No. Just take it easy. Yeah. You think we've come a long way since the Stone Age. But we don't use our noggins. We probably don't use our noggins nearly as much as they used to use them. Yeah. We don't need to these days. Excuse me. Yeah, we have it easy compared to what they did back in the day. We have it pretty easy. I gotta admit, even though my life's had challenges, I've got it pretty easy. I'm 61 years old. I probably would have died of an infection many years ago if it wasn't for modern medicine. I just need modern medicine to help me to prevent step fracturing the tips. Is there something I can take to make me smarter? Why can't I do these tips without fracturing? I don't know. The step fracturings. I'm just going to have to keep working at it. I'm still trying to figure out what they did back in the day with cuts. And, you know, there's various plants you can use and to apply to your cuts. But every time it says that they used to chew up something and then put it on the cut, I'm saying no. That cannot be right, because human saliva is one of the worst things you could put on a cut because of the bacteria. That's probably the worst thing you could do is put the leaves in your mouth, chew them up, and then stick them on your cut. Yeah, you're asking for trouble. Big time. So what do they do? It affects the Flintknapping if you have cuts on your fingers. You can't do it. Or if you try to do it, you're going to end up messing everything up. You have these swollen cuts. So they must have had good medicine. If you do a lot of Flintknapping, you need a lot of good disinfectant of some sort. Yeah, I'm cutting myself all the time, and if I didn't have disinfectants, I'd be screwed. So what do they use? I think that the amount of Flintknapping that was done reflects a good first aid culture as well. The more Flintknapping you do, the more protective measures you have. You have to do that to protect yourself against the cuts that you're going to get, especially those ones that were napping obsidian back in the day. And I don't think they all had superhuman immune systems. They might have had them. I don't know, but I doubt it. I think that the culture of Flintknapping goes hand in hand with first aid. You've got to know how to take care of cuts, both because you're napping and You're fighting with stone tools, so you need to know how to patch yourself up if you get hit with a projectile. Yeah. Knappers are fighters too. I mean, they got to get into the fight. If they're young enough. I can see where the older guys were not in the fight. But yeah. What am I looking for? You know, live by the sword, die by the sword. Well, live by the stone knife and die by the stone knife. You got to be able to figure out how to defend yourself against this stuff. Okay. That's my little spiel for the day. We're almost there yet as far as finishing this up. I got to grind the stem, right? And I got to make sure it's symmetrical. And it's a little bit, let's see, what is the width? It's yeah, a little bit over 7/8. No, 15/16. I gotta make the, well, as soon as I finish this tip, I'll know where the symmetry is. And then I'll work towards it. Yeah. I can't be spending too much time on this tip because it's driving me nuts. I've already lost a little bit off the tip anyway. If I mess with it too much, I'll lose too much off the tip. Okay, so I know where the symmetry is going to be. All right. One good thing is these bases are variable. I'm going to make this one slightly convex. Why? Because it gives just that little bit more of length to it. Yep. Now, when these were resharpened, did they resharpen these into Eden points? Well, if I was using these, I would do that, yeah. But I don't know if they did. But yeah, I would resharpen this into an Eden point for sure. Especially if it's only a side ding, like ding, you know, or it scraped all the way down on a bone and you got a lopsided point now where a lot of this is taken off. You know, start napping it down into an Eden point. I would do it. Doesn't mean it was done, but yeah, I would do it. And are some Eden points napped down to fancy Edens? They start out as crude Edens and then they become fancier as you resharpen. Well, that's a little bit far-fetched, I think. Yeah, I don't think points become fancier as they become resharpened. In my experience, they look a little bit more crude every time they're resharpened. So if they're fancy, that to me, that means that they started out fancy. Yeah. And maybe they never got used. They were just patterns. Keep them around your neck as a pattern for all the other ones. And you go, this is my best attempt. Everything else can be a pattern. I'm not going to use it. And you end up dying and they bury you with this. And then an archaeologist finds it and makes a hasty generalization and says, all the nappers were so good at making these. They must have made thousands of these perfect ones. Yeah, hasty generalization. That's not how it works. That's not how logic works. You might be right, but logic would say that it's a rare thing. If it's a rare thing to find, it's probably a rare thing back in the day. Yeah. If you're finding stuff that's only, or if you find something that's like more beautiful than anything else, it's a 1% of the 1% in quality. Chances are that was what it was like back in the day. That was a 1% of the 1%. And what they were using was more crude. And that might have been the pattern. the beautiful pieces might have been the patterns. And who knows, you know, one tribe might have been making a bunch of points for everybody around in the area. And if you needed a stone point or stone knife of high grade, you would go to that tribe and trade them something. You know, here's some elk hides off my back. I'll trade you the hide off my back for a stone knife instead of a shirt off your back. Yeah, I'll trade you the hide off my back. They go, okay, man, I can use it because I got 8 kids. Yeah. You ate your kids? No, I didn't eat my kids. I have 8 kids. Oh, okay. Whew. Scare me for a second there. Yeah, I think, who knows what happened, but it's good. It's cool to imagine. All right, so is this working? I'm trying to get the edges sharp, but it looks kind of not very good. I can't be spending too much time persnickifying the edges because I don't think the Scottsbluffs were made that way. I think they were made with as few flakes as possible. They didn't fuss too much. It was highly skillfully made. Is that a word? Is that a way to say it? They were very carefully and skillfully made, but they also didn't spend too much time being persnickety on the edge. I don't think. Except near the tip. And they might have had the same issues where you had to get good at sharpening the tips because they're a problem area. For some reason, I just can't seem to make a nice clean tip without spending a lot of time. And if I had to make 10 of these, first of all, that would be a big pain, but I would have to figure out a way to do it. And the best way to do it is to not fuss too much with individual flakes. It takes too long. Okay. But the Edens, they were very fussy with those. So it is possible that they were making them all that way. But I think it's also possible that they could have been patterns or money, you know, traded for something good. I don't know. Probably not for money, especially in a harsh environment. Where it would be hard to get material. You don't want to give up your stone tools that easily. I mean, even though it's very valuable, it's valuable for a reason, because you need it for survival. What are you going to do if you trade all your points for something else? All the good ones. I don't know. I keep crushing the edge, and it messes up the symmetry. Dang it. I'm getting a phone call, so I need to go in very soon. We're almost there yet. Yeah, I just need to grind it. Right, I just need to grind it. Yeah. Is the stem long enough? I'm looking at the length of the stems. Yeah, it's probably long enough. Yeah, it's longer than this stem. All right. I'm just going to pick on the edge a little bit because it makes it easier to grind these little edges off if I pick at it first. And if I see dull spots, I'm going to take a little flake. But I'm not sure if they picked the edges. I think they picked the edges with very minute little flakes. That's what I'm seeing on the casts. But it's just very minute, and most of the flaking is bold flaking. All right. Yeah, bases are ground. And when they say base, it's not just the base down here. I think it's the entire stem is ground. Right, right. And I think they probably ground up a little bit higher on the edges. Because if you've ever wrapped something tightly, you know that even this little surface stuff can cut the wrappings. These surface little sharpnesses. Yeah. I don't know if the bottoms of those shoulders are also ground down, but that's it. I gotta go in. Yep. We're there yet. We got it. It will be available in the auction too, so I like it. Alrighty. That's it.